Anybody able to, basically these are the requirements of this whole deal, is you would need a Ubuntu box to put the Ansible on, basically copy and paste the script into, and then you would need a Windows box to put open SSH into, so that we will go ahead and use Windows Update to update it via Ansible. So yeah, they're pretty hard requirements all of a sudden if you don't have that available right now. So no worries. I can provide this later on if someone wants it. And actually, you know what? Here, share this, copy, and it'll just be in the meetup text for anybody to take a peek at this later. So there it is. I put it in meetup text for people to check it out later. So, all right. So with that, hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for wanting to learn some Ansible to update Windows servers. So how I came about this topic was at work, I was like, okay, trying to give some advisement and say, hey, update your stuff with like WSUS, right, for servers, like Windows servers. But it was like, oh, but we only have a couple. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of a heavy lift then to just install WSUS. I was like, is there a better way to do it other than just to like WinRM in and just do it like that? I was like, well, let me try Ansible. And so I tried it out and it seemed to work. And so I'm here today to kind of show you how that worked out for me. So we will get into it. So what we're seeing here on the screen is basically a copy and paste of how to get Ansible installed on your Ubuntu box. Just install all these things and magically you'll have Ubuntu on, or you'll have Ansible on your Ubuntu box. So that's really all it is there. I mean, it might look like magic, but it's not really. So this says it has 3 labs. There's really only 2, and I really would say there's only 1, because like if you go to lab 2, install OpenSSH, I basically tell you to go to this pastebin site and run a couple commands based off of that. And you probably see where I say, no, work key below. So I try to get SSH keys to work by these videos and such, and I just couldn't get it to work. I tried to make it work, and I was gonna note it and walk people through, but it just, if you can find out how to do it, please let me know the secret sauce. I tried very hard for a couple of days and just could not do it. So yeah, so cool. We'll go into lab 1. So here's lab 1. I do have a few prereqs right here. But the goal of this is to update Windows servers, and you could do Workstation too, whatever has open SSH on a Windows box, really. And we'll be using the Ansible component of windows.win_updates, and we'll talk about that later. So the prereqs really for this is to, well, have Windows, and then when you have Windows, to go ahead and put open SSH on it. And we'll go through that here shortly. Second thing is, oh, see, I had a private key here on Ansible. So, nope, you don't need really a key. This was before. This was before. So you don't really need that anymore. ... Anyways, how I got Ansible working is I actually added a local user account to a Windows server. I didn't try domain. I just did a local user account. So I put that as a requirement. Also, you will need an Ansible server. They call them Ansible controllers. That could be Ubuntu with the commands I showed previously. And then we're going to add a bunch of stuff to Windows here in this. So let me show you different screen, or actually, let me just bring this over here. There we go. All right, here's my Ansible. And actually, hopefully that's big enough. I don't know if that's big enough screen for y'all. Hopefully.
We can we can just see your notes still. Every time it's more like flickering.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I must have said. Okay, so let me share my screen again, but maybe do the desktop. Change windows. Screens. All right, cool. All right, how about How about now?
Yep,
Can you
we can
see?
see the remote desktop manager.
Cool, perfect. And that's an okay size. That seems pretty good, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, great, cool. All right, so this is where my Ansible stuff is. But before we do that, what I've got is I've got a server. Let's see here, which and this I'm gonna try this new. So this is not domain joined. I did this on domain joined machines before, but I'm gonna just do this on a non-domain machine. So here I am spinning up or getting into my Windows Server 2019. That's not domain joined. And we're going to go ahead and open up PowerShell. We're going to do a bunch of copy and paste basically really quick.
By the way,
to
your
get...
picture is coming in super sharp. Bravo.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, I don't know
Yeah,
what I
it's
did.
like 4K.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Super cool. Okay, so let me pull up this stuff. So basically, I'm just going to copy all of this. And basically what it's telling here, it says add the new user. I'm going to add it and give it a name. I'm going to check out the administrators group, and then I'm going to put my user in that group, and then I'm going to look and make sure that I put it in the group. So let's go ahead and do that. Back to here. Oh, cool. I can copy and paste. That's awesome. Oh yeah, what's the password? All right. All right, cool. So yeah, a lot of stuff since I copied and pasted, but the end result is this very last piece, and that's to make sure that this Win10 user is indeed there. That's that local user I added. So again, everyone's free to just come in here and just copy and paste this out of the docs, and you'll be right here with me. So now that we got a local user on there and a password on there, then we can then access it with Ansible later on. But let's go ahead and move. I'm just going to go to lab 2 skip real quick because we're just going to install the OpenSSH via my paste bin here. And really, I think the only... Yeah, so basically I install OpenSSH here. Then I start SSHD. Then I just make it automatically go via service. Then I add some firewall stuff via here with the port 22. And then I think I do, what's this? I just make sure that PowerShell is kind of the shell it's using. All right. Yeah. So we'll just do, and we don't need to do this like keygen thing because that's back when I was trying to like figure out how to get public keys to work. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing because a lot of the stuff is commented out, so it won't really run anything.
And Jesse,
Yeah.
real quick too, just to make sure I'm following along, you're essentially creating that Win10 user as a local admin group to basically leverage to use Ansible. So essentially, Ansible will call, like, if you ever need to do any type of like administration, it just calls that leverages that user account. Correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I could have called it Ansible, but I called it Win10 user just because my
Yeah.
Ansible script already has Win10 user in it. Yeah.
Cool.
You
Okay.
got it. Right on. Cool, cool, cool. Let's see. I'm gonna kind of mess around with these defaults here really quick with the font. At least put 24 and say okay. What? Oh, great. Nice. Okay. Is that not do it that way for me? I guess not. Okay. We'll just go properties. All right, cool. And I'll just, oh yeah, great. Let's go back to this, back to this, copy it out of here. Hopefully I can right click back into here and it'll, okay, cool. Oh, that's right. This part takes a little while. This is probably the longest part. Well, wait a minute, maybe not. Never mind. I thought that was much longer. Apparently not. Cool. All right, something happened. What's this? Cannot create a file when the file already exists. Oh, okay. Well, as long as it's there, I don't care. So apparently probably opened the port when I installed SSHD. So that's probably what happened. In fact, I think that's what it's saying here. Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah. So when I installed it, it just when I installed it here, somehow created a firewall rule already. So cool. So yeah, never mind this firewall adding a port 22 because it already exists according to this. So that's great. So cool. So at this point, we've got a Win10 user in local administrator group that we can use Ansible to get to this machine now because it's got open SSH open to it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to go on my left side, go to Ansible, and I'm going to go back to our notes. So that was it for lab 2 really. So back to lab 1. I've obviously got to make this a little more succinct as far as like one after the other. So I'm just going to assume that this is already done because it's done for me. But literally, again, all you have to do is copy and paste it in here and you're golden. And then the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that the when ping works. We want to see basically this green here where it says ping pong. So this is like a success for it. So I'm just going to copy this for now and explain it here in a bit. I just want to see it. Please tell me it works. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Cancel. So there's an inventory file I have to know, and I do say, like, basically to get this to work, we need to adjust this Ansible config file. Basically, we have to put this in it. Basically, it looks like this. And then we also have to make an inventory file, which that's this, and we've got to put basically this in it, where we're like, hey, for Windows 10, or you can call it whatever right there. I could have called it Win Server, whatever. I got to put the IP address in it. So that'll be the new IP address of the server that I grabbed. So like if I go back to here nope, that's the wrong one. So if I go back to here, let's just go IP config 97. So I have to put 97 in that file. So let's go ahead and just do that right here. So let me list this. Oh yeah, so my inventory is right here in this directory, this blue directory inventories. So let me go, I'm gonna go, since I'm that $sign thing, sudo nano inventories, and I start calling it prox hosts. So we're gonna look at that, give it my fancy password, and then, oh, it's here. Cool. So I did have it in here. Sweet. So, okay, yep. So,
Sorry, is that okay if I interrupt real quick? I was just
yeah,
curious. I have
please.
a question for you.
Yeah.
So essentially, I see the Ubuntu vars, the variables, and it mentions password 1. I know this is just like an intro to Ansible, but for example, maybe Sinek can answer this as too. But as far as the password, you never want to have it in like a plain text file. You could use essentially like a key manager or secrets manager for essentially like this password, for example. Correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there is a way to encrypt your Ansible passwords. There's like I forgot how it works, but there's a way to where you can actually commit your secrets into code, but there's a way where it's like encrypted beforehand. I don't know if that's something you're. Oh yeah, Ansible Vault. There you go.
Yeah.
Let me beat you to it.
I mean, great Sponger. Great. I'm not going to go over it here, but I am going to go over it here. No.
Call it out for the recording.
Exactly. No. Yeah. Best practice. Don't do what I'm doing and have the password in that file. Do this instead. Use Ansible Vault. Basically, you run this Ansible Vault, encrypt this var main YAML, which would have this, like, say, password deal in it. And then it would encrypt it for you. And then you can later on, say, ask Vault, and it will go ahead and run off of the Vault password, whatever your password is.
So you essentially create the file, and then just encrypt the file, and then from that moment on, you're pretty much like golden.
Yep, exactly.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Yep.
I haven't seen this before, so that's why I was curious.
Yeah, no, great. I was the same way. I was like, well, how do I make it better? So thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, cool. And yeah, so we're gonna skip this whole Ubuntu piece. I'm not even going on Ubuntu,
So,
but here are the
uh,
ways. Yeah.
actually, I do have a question about that. So, there are several different choices you have to make, like JSON versus YAML, or how to deal with this remote access stage. So that
Oh, you're
the
cutting out, Warlock. Almost every other word, and then it gets worse. Hello.
Yeah, I'm seeing that on my end as well.
Okay. Yeah, he was talking about INI files or JSON files, YAML files, basically the YAML format. And what I'm doing is INI because I don't want to deal with like 2 spaces at a time, right? Do the 2 spaces and then do the 2 spaces and then do the 2 spaces. I'm lazy, and I was doing this for competitions for WRCCDC and Cyberforce. So I was just doing it the fastest way possible without, because I kept hitting formatting issues, not doing 2 spaces or whatever the YAML formatting wanted, and so I just got irritated and said, "Screw this! I'm just gonna do it this way."
So can you hear me now? Better?
Yep.
Okay. So what I was basically getting at is there's a couple different design choices you have to make. Like, for example, YAML versus INI, right? Or, you've got SSH that you're using, and, you could have an Ansible user, but literally it's like I'm authenticating as this user, and then I'm going to do, administrator or root level action, right? So that password that you're defining there, is that for just the remote access user at a non-administrator, non-root level on the remote machine?
It's gonna be administrator. I put him in the administrators group.
Okay. So so in a Linux sense, I guess basically you'd probably use like the Ansible account, but again, there's different methods of how to get these secrets, right? And so there's ask vault, ask this, ask that, and one way to handle it is you use SSH keys, right? And I think they're passphraseless SSH keys, and so that allows Ansible running as you on the Ansible controller machine to authenticate as the remote user, Ansible, Win10, whatever. But it's not doing a password-based authentication. It's doing an SSH, whatever, key
Yeah,
pair
as you
authentication.
can tell,
Then,
these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I try to get public keys to work, or private keys, really.
okay.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
but
so
that is a
difficult.
technique that you could use in Windows, right?
Yeah, if someone can do it, please let me know. I need to know.
Okay.
I can. It
And
works
th-
fantastically with Ubuntu. I mean, with Linux, I can do
yeah.
it. Linux, no problem. But
And it, yeah, and
not
then
with
there's also privilege escalation, right? So in a Linux sense, you'd be using sudo, right? And there's different ways of doing it, right? So you can get super convoluted, or just simply say this Ansible user is root equivalent, right, without a password to get like a root shell. And it's
Yep,
like
exactly.
if you do that with passphraseless SSH keys, it literally will just work in a Linux to Linux, right? Linux to Windows, you obviously don't have sudo in Windows, so I don't really know what else you can get away with if you needed to
Yes.
escalate your privilege as a regular user to whatever the credentials are for the administrator level in Windows.
Yep. Yep. You got it. You got
Yeah,
it.
but those are all design decisions that you have to make, and you don't necessarily have to take a secret and stick it in a vault to make all this work. Anyway,
Yep.
there you go.
You got it. Thanks, man. All right. Speaking of which, glad you brought that up. I had to change my Ansible user from administrator to Win10 user because we had Win10. Well, I guess I could have kept it administrator, but I didn't change the password for administrator. There's the password for everybody to see. It's going to connect via SSH. I'm going to tell it, well, when you connect, use PowerShell and not just CMD. I don't know what this pipelining is. I just seen articles where it was like, use it. So I'm like, all right, I'll use it. And then this is strict host key checking. Basically, just if I haven't seen the key before, don't worry about it. And then try it 3 times. Is this Ansible SSH retry? And then here's the Ansible become that Warlock talks about. except they want to use run as. And I tried doing a bunch of private key file stuff, and I just couldn't get things to work. It was very frustrating. So yeah, I'd love to hear someone else get it going and then let me know. But yeah, so for this exercise though, we basically just need this IP address here of the box that we're gonna hit, and then I should remove all this Ubuntu stuff and put the Win10 vars up there, but I didn't. And then all we need really is this user and the password and the connection, and everything else is just preference really at this point. Cool. So I'm just gonna Control O for just saving, Control X to get out of there. And now we're in the inventory piece. And then I think I was trying to do this piece right here, this win ping piece. So now we've got, I have already got Ansible in the config file, this basically host key checking false, which is also in this inventory file here as well. And so we've got the IP address in the inventory file with the password that it needs. And so that is pretty much all we need to get that ping going, I think. So let's try it out. So let me explain this command real quick. When doing an Ansible ad hoc command, that's kind of what this is when we're using Ansible by itself and not Ansible playbook. And then this win10 is specifically trying to look in this inventory file. So if I Control C out of here, go back into that inventory file, at the top here is win10. So that's what it's doing. It's looking for that. So back to pasting this back in. Oh no. Okay, fine. Let's get back to this. Grab it. All right. Back to that. All right. So it says Ansible. Go ahead and look for this specific profile, I guess. I don't know what it's called. Then the tag I there. Oh, what's that?
It's a group.
Group. Okay, yeah, groupings. Yeah, so you can make a bunch of groupings. That's what I called the group. And then the TAC I, thank you. TAC I is for, hey, give me the inventory file. And so I just gave it the directory, basically the path. So inventory is the directory, and then to the INI specific file. And again, that's a choice. It should be a YAML file, really, best practices in most people's eyes. And then M is for module, the TAC M. And then the module we're using is WinPing. So let me press enter. It's failed to parse. Oh yeah, the Ubuntu part. Oh, okay. So we're not reaching this. Cannot connect to the host. Oh, it's using that for some reason. And so here we'll do some troubleshooting. So for some reason, it wants to use Ubuntu user. So let's go and look at this and see what is going on. I don't know. It should not be using that Ubuntu at all. It should be using this 110 user.
So wait a second. You have Ansible user equals root?
Do I? No. Do I? No. This is
Yeah.
That's for Ubuntu though. I'm not calling it Ubuntu.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Just I don't know. My admin brain caught that, and I was like, yeah. So basically, what that means then, if you do that, is if you're trying to do Ansible stuff with Ubuntu hosts, it will try to authenticate via SSH as the remote user called root, which is a bad idea in general.
Yeah. So let's see if that was doing. No, that wasn't what the deal was, but yeah, that is what happened there. Well, this is interesting. Nope. See, I have to call that.
Yeah, you do. And so that Ubuntu user, I mean, it didn't just make it up, so it has to be specified somewhere. Either you told them the command line or it's in that inventory file, right? So you didn't find that string in there anywhere?
Yeah, it's definitely in. Well, let's double check. Let's double check. So Win10. Did I say Win10 user or? So it's Win10.
Just look for that Ubuntu user.
I didn't see it when I was walking through it. Is it trying to do the Ansible? Is it because Win10 user isn't recognized and it's trying to use some other one?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll comment out the root thing and see if this works this way. Yeah, that's odd. Okay,
Well,
so let me get out.
Yeah, so you're going to want to probably take a look at all of those inventory files in that directory, because it has a way to go through them all to combine all the little stanzas that you've made, the little INI stanzas, and it combines them all into one master thing for inherit. You know what I mean? It's almost like an inheritance kind of thing. So it's not, if you, I don't know. Well, yeah. I don't know.
Well, I
It
had it
seemed that
working, but
I seem to, like do a keyword search for a Ubuntu user for all files in that directory.
oh, I'm not using Ubuntu at all. At all. I'm using just Windows.
But that's literally what it's trying to use, right? So if you find
Uh,
the one reference to it, you'll be like, oh, why did I do it that way? Because you
well,
find
it's
it.
the machine. It's my Ansible machine. I am the Ubuntu user of this machine.
Oh, that's your user ID? Your
Yeah. See
current
right here?
user? Oh, got it. Okay.
So it's using that. I don't know why it's not calling. I'm
There you
explicitly
go.
telling Ansible use, what's in the inventory file. So it's really strange to me. Oh, so now it's like pausing. Interesting.
Yeah, and I think if you have variables
Oh,
defined
now it works.
separately, I think you might have to specify.
It works.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
we're
did?
good. Yeah, it was something with that Ubuntu junk. It didn't like stuff in there. Um, So yeah, I just commented all that out. Anyways, sorry about all that roadblock, but hey, great troubleshooting. So just
That's how you learn
uh
to troubleshoot.
well, pretty much like take everything out, rip it all out is what I did. It's like ripped all the Ubuntu stuff out and just left the Win10 variables. So yeah, great. Thanks for coming along with on the ride on that one. So cool. So back to the Notion. So yeah, so we had all these things. All these things are in here. That's great. And let me just look through this stuff. Oh yeah, I just talked about adding the user, which we did. We added to the administrators group, which we did. And then here's the check Windows Update YAML that I grabbed from somebody else somewhere online. I can't remember where. But basically, let me walk you through what it does. So this is just a check. This is not update. This is just a check, which is good to check and then later on update. So what this is going to do, it's going to search and see what's going on for Windows updates, and then it's going to put in this text file, ansible_wu.text. And you can just grab that text file and then look through it and go, okay, I need to update some things and update them accordingly. And you can update via like KBs. You can update via just like security updates or just criticals, or you could be, a whole bunch of different ways to slice this. But I think we're just, I can't remember. We'll see what we update. So again, I look for the host. It's the Win10 that we saw in the inventory file a couple different times. Then with Ansible, they like to do this thing called tasks. And these are the actual things that are happening on the box using specific modules from Ansible. And this module is windows.win_updates module. So someone cool made a module for Ansible that basically goes to like some PowerShell thing and updates Windows updates. It's super cool. So this thing under tasks, it always needs a name. So you always have to do a name, and you can call it whatever you want. This one's called search for updates. Then you got to use, and you have to be very specific, like right under the N has to start the Ansible module that you're going to use. If you do something like a space here, it's gonna like barf and be mad at you because it's using YAML. And how you know this is YAML? At the very top has a dash dash dash. That is a YAML. Most YAML files will have that up there, so that it knows it's a YAML file. Okay, and so yeah, and then with each module, you have certain things it can do, and then again, you have to do like space space. You have to have two. It's like orders of two for YAML. So like if you look up here under task, it's like 1, 2 to the T, and then if you go, to this dash here, it's 2. So you go 1, 2 is to the host, and then from the task 1, 2 is to this next dash, and then it's 1, 2. Anyway, sometimes you can mess up. I mess up all the time, and so at least in the inventory file, so I just use the INI. But anyways, back to this. So in the modules, they have certain things they can do. So this one has category names the person wanted to call it, and one of those names is security updates. And there's a few other ones in there, but we're just going to look for security updates. We're going to call it a state of search. So we're just searching. We're not updating or anything. And then we're going to grab that information and put it into a log path. And so that log path is going to be on whoever the user profile is that we're using, which is the Win10 user. And then and so how this came about, just so that you know, I was using, what was I using? Oh, I was logging in, RDPing in with the administrator account, but I was using the Win10 user. And I'm like, where's my file? Where's my file? And then I was like, oh, I need to be under the Win10 user account. So I was like, you know what? There needs to be a way to just do this because I switched them out also to administrator or other accounts. And so I was like, you know what? When I switch, I just wanted to go to whatever I switch. So I better put like this like variable in there, which is user profile with the % on either side. And that'll put whatever I log in as like administrator or Win10 user or whoever I decide that day, it'll put in their profile this text file. And then this is going to have a register. And it's going to be, and I'm not too keen on the register, but I had to put this in there. Oh, I guess I didn't. No, never mind. It's commented out. This isn't even in there. I think I was trying to do some stuff I was just trying to do some special stuff and it didn't work out. So I commented that out. So I show the picture of this basically showing, hey, this is me using this is considered a playbook when it's in this YAML format. And so I have to use this Ansible-playbook, then use the I for inventory, use this inventory file that's INI, not YAML. And then under the playbooks area, I have this win update directory, which then has this check win up YAML that we just went through. And so it's going to go through here. And then like, you'll notice it'll go through and be like, oh, search only return list found. That's exactly what this was up here. So when we name these things, it actually is pretty cool because then it like will say it here. And so like search for updates. So did I name this again? Okay, so there's this name here, search only. So that's this play, search only. And then the task, if I have multiple tasks, I would have multiple names. And then I would know which thing I'm at, what task I'm at, because it would say where it's at. Like this one's saying, hey, we're doing the search only play. This is task right here is the search for updates piece. Just a little bit about this gathering facts. I could have told it not to gather facts like IP addresses and other things. But I just said, sure, go ahead. And then at the end, it'll be like, hey, this is the recap. These are how many things were skipped. These are how many things were ignored. But basically what we want to know is how many things are okay or changed is what we want to know. And if things are okay, that means what's happening here is this Ansible stateless. So basically it's not going to change anything if the state is already the state that you want. It'll just be like, okay, you're good. Okay. But if the play is going to change it to something, then it'll highlight the change. It'll be like, oh, nope, we did change the state to something. And this is the one thing we changed. There's one thing we changed.
Jesse?
Yeah.
Real quick, just give you a time check. We got about 10 minutes or so.
Perfect. All right. Great. Cool. So what I'll do is I will run this next. So let's go ahead and run this next playbook. So we'll go in here. We'll go Ansible playbook. We'll say we want the inventory file that has all that stuff in it, and then we're going to use this. Oops. This playbook. That's right. That's reason. This playbook. Playbook. When update. Check. Oh, tab. Oh, I have a couple. Looks like check 2 and that one. What do I have on here? Is it check 2? Nope, just went up. Well, let's find out. All right, go. All right, so it's hopefully gonna go through this. Okay, it made it to 97. So this at this point, you're like, okay, cool. We have at least authenticated. And so right now, it's trying to run the task. So while it's running the task, let me go to that box. Viewer.
So Jesse, quick question. Will this just look for the whatever the latest and greatest patches are
The security ones, yes.
for security? And is there a way to like blacklist, whitelist, which ones you want?
Yeah, you can do it by KBs.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so like if we go in, so basically this is kind of showing, hey, here's the text file that we can go ahead and look at, this and that. But here we go, like I have critical updates, security updates, and update rollups is another thing to do, and if it would reboot, blah blah blah. Where is it? Is it this second version? Is this the one? This is the one that searches for that. I'm looking for the one that does. Oh, I didn't notate it. Sorry, I don't have it. Yeah, I thought I had the one where you can like specify like which KBs, but you could separate these ones out, like only do update rollups, only do security updates, critical updates, that kind of thing. Yeah, good question. So let's go back to Ansible. Let's see if it's done. It probably is. Yep. It says it's okay. We're good to go. And if you go to the box itself, as you saw right here, here's the Ansible _WU. I could have just grabbed that via Ansible and looked at it, but just for ease of use and kind of to prove like, hey, here it is. So here it is. Yeah. So this actually, if we do real quick, Windows update. Don't check. I don't want to check. Just tell me that there's a ton of updates. Oh yeah, see? So I got a lot of updates I need to do. And this is just telling me like I got this KB. And this is part of the security updates. So I can go, okay, I definitely want that. And then you can just keep on going down and it'll tell you if it needs to be like rebooted or not, if that specific update will require a reboot. But yeah, so this is the hard part, is actually looking through all these KBs and going, oh, well, what is this? Oh, Windows malicious software removal, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, yes, I want this. No, I don't want that, right? And then just installing via the KB, or just saying, yeah, no, I want every security update. Let's just do all the security updates. And then that's when you would run basically this one to install, and then we would just remove critical updates and this, and then we just do all the security updates. And that would do it. So since we're short on time, I think I'll just cut it short to just that piece of it. So that really showed you, how to install a user and open SSH on a Windows box, and then how to connect to it with some troubleshooting steps along the way with an Ansible box. So hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully if you have any questions, we could talk about that at another time. So Questions, or what's the time check, Sean?
We got a few more minutes. Yeah,
I got a question.
great presentation, by the way.
Ooh, thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Warlock.
Okay. So as you were looking through that log, and it had some JSON blurbs in there, but it had some interspersed lines of just whatever text, log file entries. Is it possible to get that module to spit out just pure JSON? So that way, if you wanted to query, like, what was done, you could have an automated parsing of that, like a complete single JSON block, and say, give me a list of all of the KBs that you updated. And it's not going to choke on this random text that's interspersed with all this other JSON. Anything like that?
That's a good question. So I think what the code that I did just now would just get what Windows updates are there right now on the system. Well, specifically the security updates. And so if we were to do a security update and updated however many we did, then it wouldn't have that as part of this particular check, because it's only going to grab what
So-
hasn't been installed yet.
So really, I'm just asking about, is there a feature that you know of within that module that somebody wrote to do these updates, that you're telling it these categories of, do these security updates, do this, whatever.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you asked it to do, there's what it actually did. And that's why, some kind of output, log output or something is useful. But if I ran JQ against this, right, because I wanted to query it and say, for all these records, like for example, it would be like in an array, right? So there'd be like a hard left bracket. Then you'd have this block of JSON in there, and I could just say, JQ, dot, open hard bracket, close hard bracket, KB, and then boom, just the KBs alone pop out. Because I'm querying actual straight JSON. Like, this file is not a JSON file.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I would just do system info, do like a PowerShell, right? And then find string and just KBs. I probably should have typed that all out instead of just doing system info. I should have done exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
what
there's always a client-specific way to do it, but I'm just saying, since you're using Ansible and this is configuration management that's centrally orchestrated, and it is logging it centrally, that I just wanted to know if you knew of anything that was built into that module to have it be a little nicer in terms of its output.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at that a little bit, and what it appeared to me, my fix for that was, and I also came across this. Sometimes you may have to run the install security updates or whatever the update is multiple times before it actually updates all of the security updates. And then at the end, if you do, like, after you've installed what you think you've ran a couple of Ansible things, once you're done with that, you can run the win check, or I had to run the win check, and then it wouldn't return anything. It's like, oh, you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the answer to my question is no, right? In that you
No.
don't know that there is an option in there. So there might be, and if there was, that would be valuable to somebody like me, because I don't really want to get lost in the details of, oh, well, this particular client in this multi-platform environment is Windows. Well, I got to use a Windows-specific thing to query it, and it'll only tell me about the state of the machine as it is, not the work that was actually done. So, anyway, I'll see if I find something. I'll let you know.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, please. That'd be awesome. Thanks, man. Any other questions before Sean cuts me off?
No, I think that was awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks for the demo, dude.
Yeah, good talk, man. I like that.
Gave
Cool.
me a window into the dark side of Windows.
Oh, I guess I do have a question. Ansible versus Jenkins, I guess. Is it just Jenkins is similar, where you can do like the same thing? It's just like you build for automation. I guess major differences between the two.
Oh, great question. Anybody want to take that? I don't have experience.
I can answer that.
Yeah.
I have some experience with Jenkins. So Jenkins is pretty much it's like a build tool for deploying out changes in regards to development. So it's not like a state control tool like Ansible is. It's more like a tool for orchestrating like CIC pipelines and development
okay.
building and things like that. So it is completely different. Yeah, good question though.
It's application versus system level, right? So if you think of configuration management with respect to system level, right? There's imperative versus what is it? It's imperative versus declarative, right? So when when you have something that's declarative, you're basically just stating that you're saying, I want this system to be in this end state. I don't care how you get there. Versus imperative, which is, I am Python. The code that I'm going by is literally procedural, right? So you actually care about the process. And so, if you're doing something at a system level, that would be more configuration management. And then, Jenkins is more as exactly as Sinek was saying, it's application level, right? For deployments, and you're really just you're just saying, here's a directory where all this stuff ends up, all these binaries, blarp, and it just drops it. It builds it and drops it there.
I'll say though, Jenkins can definitely be used for running Ansible. There's a lot of use cases, and I've got experience with that. Where if I want to automate some builds, like of a golden image, or maybe it's having Ansible run against XYZ servers, I could totally use Jenkins to orchestrate that change, where it could go to GitHub, pull down the changes from version control, and then go and run the Ansible against my server. So that's it can definitely be used hand in hand.
So you're talking about like sort of ancillary system level changes that would go along with, the primary thing is to deploy a new binary, right, for the application.
Okay? It doesn't have to be, Jenkins doesn't have to be used in that way. It can be.
You're talking about like build only?
It could be for build deployment. It could be used in all sorts of different ways.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's probably a dumb question on my end, but thanks for
No, it's a good question.
Clarification on that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, because I actually haven't used Ansible, but now that you mentioned it, Jenkins is more for the CI/CD pipeline where you're changing more. I think it's more for code changes, whereas Jenkins is more for code changes, and Ansible is more for, hey, let's patch my Windows systems and just run this script or something.
Yeah, Ansible is used more focused on like setting a desired state on a system, so in guaranteeing that the system is in that state. And one of the things you could do is also like apply patches and things like that. But yeah, definitely can be used hand in hand, and they can definitely work in tangent together. Right. So yeah, it's really cool. Like Jenkins is really powerful.
Nice.
It's just one of those things of like, if you got a powerful tool that was designed for like one specific purpose initially, they built it in such a way that you could do a lot of stuff with it, right? So you could probably do a whole lot with Jenkins, but would you want to? You could, but if Ansible is so well suited to what it needs to do, you would use them together.
Yeah, I think it's more stateful of configuration versus just like the like code changes and like automating, like you doing infrastructure as code.
There you go.
Anybody else have any other questions before we wrap things up with Jesse? Well, cool. All right. Well, thanks again, Jesse. Great talk. We'll get this uploaded to YouTube. And then, is there any other closing comments you want to make, Jesse, before we wrap it up and pass it over to Waylock?
Other than if you are interested in Ansible, hit me up and let's talk more.
Definitely. Cool. All right.
Thank you.
So when sharing on my screen here, I noticed some options. Let me see. So I can get away with this. I'm just going to share the browser window.